You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
You doing okay today?
Are you sure you're okay?
Why? Are you sure you're okay?
I'm getting a weird vibe.
Maybe you need to apologize about something, huh? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you got a guilty conscience and you need to own up to it, Brittany. Come on.
I swear I don't know of anything.
I know nothing.
No, nothing at all.
I know nothing at all. Yes, if you haven't noticed, guys, today we are going to talk about apologizing. And you and I probably will role play a little bit because we've had moments where we've had to apologize to each other quite a bit. And you still owe me an apology now. Let's see if you figure it out by the end of the show. I'm going to give you a complex. You're going to be, what did I do? What is he talking about? Anyway, so yes, is it episode 44, right? We're up to 44. Yeah, so apologizing 101 and just saying sorry don't cut it. Sorry. That does not cut it. Because I think sorry is kind of a throwaway line of, oh, I did something. Oh, sorry. As if that's supposed to cover up for it. And we're going to get into the deep dive into this one, because not just you and me, but you and relationships in your life, me and relationships in my life. It's just powerful to know how to apologize. Even when your friend comes on a podcast and has a weird vibe. I'm sorry, Brittany, that I had the weird vibe when I came on. I was trying to coax you into kind of this skit at the beginning where you would feel like you had to apologize. So you didn't take the bait. You're like, something's wrong. I didn't do anything. I'm innocent.
And talk about that too, because there's an appropriate time to apologize and then there's a time when not to. But yes, you can go ahead and start us off for today.
You didn't play my game. I was trying so hard to play it off of, you need to apologize. She's like, I ain't playing the game, bro. Sorry. It's too long. So yes, let's get this show on the road. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website. Nothing gets past that one. I promise you guys, nothing gets by her. So go check us out on our official website. Audio, video is there. Check us out. We have all the past episodes are there. So all 44 episodes right there. Go check it out. You can also check us out on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We do debut this podcast, One Step Deeper, over on YouTube at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Just type in that One Step Deeper. You'll find it there. Same on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook has been giving me trouble uploading. So what I do now is embed the YouTube video into Facebook to watch it that way. You still got all the notes and everything there. Instagram, IGTV is pretty easy, so I get it up on there. Then on Mondays, it is a traditional podcast that goes out over the interwebs, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Alexa, all of those ways to listen. And then finally, go check us out. Leave us a review at whatever podcasting format, or just if you want to leave comments. We love reading the comments. We got a crap load of comments on the episode we did a couple of weeks ago on the tidbit. I was sitting there going, wow. I'm glad I do the tidbit, because sometimes people will watch the little 15-minute snippet of what we do and not always get to the full one. But if they get to the 15-minute tidbit, it's usually a really good little segment. Got a lot of feedback on that one from a couple of weeks ago. So thank you guys. Keep telling us how much you love us. And we'll keep making episodes here for you. But yes, apologizing. It seems like an elementary, fundamental human life skill, but people don't know how to apologize. And they do this phony baloney apologize of, oh, I'm sorry for how you felt. And it just, they just fail miserably at it, don't they?
Yeah, I think you're right, though. Apologizing is fundamental, but it's not taught, and it's not taught the correct way. And so many issues, and there's so much to dive into. This is just one of those topics, but I think today is going to be one of those reference podcasts.
Yes.
That I'm going to be I see you're having a problem with apologizing. Go to episode 44 of the One Step Deeper podcast so you can learn all about that. There's been so many of our episodes where I've referred to people of, oh, I've got something for you to listen to. Just so happens to be me. But no, I have dealt with this, and I know you have too, my entire life of having people apologize to me and still feeling empty, still feeling like that wasn't it.
You feel like shit after they apologize. It's like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to feel better and I feel worse.
Yes. And so I have picked apart the little pieces of how people apologize. And I mean this in the best way possible, but it's a lot of the times my parents, when I speak of this, I've had my parents apologize to me. And I'm in a privileged state, perhaps, where I have multiple parents. I have had multiple fathers in my life, and I've had multiple mothers in my life. And so I have a very complex family, but in particular, my biological parents, there's a lot of pain and hurt there. And I've talked about those stories here. And my mom has never properly learned to apologize. There's a lot of things just like buried underneath because she was never properly apologized to.
Right. And this gets to the root of why people don't apologize properly. It's never been demonstrated to them. And they have a vendetta, kind of a chip on their shoulder of, well, damn it, if I didn't get apologies, you sure the hell aren't.
They're tied together. Apologizing the correct and proper way requires vulnerability, and people are scared of vulnerability. They're afraid to let that guard down because apologizing for something when it's warranted requires that you admit that you did something wrong, and somewhere that just messes with people because it makes them feel less.
Yeah.
Which perhaps when you hurt somebody, maybe it is appropriate for you to feel like, oh shit, I made a mistake. Yeah. It's okay to feel that way, but it's using that vulnerability to be vulnerable with the person that you hurt in order to bring that to them and say, wow, I fucked up.
And we've talked about this before, that people view vulnerability as weakness. And you and I, hopefully by 44 episodes in, we have busted that myth that vulnerability is weakness. I think vulnerability is the ultimate sign of strength. You and I have been both extremely vulnerable on this podcast because guess what? We do it in real life too. Like I even find myself randomly doing vulnerability on my little walks that I do in the morning. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys. I got nothing to hide here. And I don't even feel shame from doing that anymore. I think at first I was just like, what are they going to think of me? But I don't worry about that because I'm living in my true self.
And when you're living within that true self and you do happen to hurt somebody, listen, I've hurt Jimmy before and Jimmy's hurt me, but we still here. We still have our friendship because we both have gotten to the place where we are willing to be vulnerable. We're willing to say, wow, I'm sorry I hurt you, with nothing else. And we're saying sorry isn't good enough. It is, but it's not. And so many times it comes with a tone.
Tone, I was going to say, let me amend that. Sorry with true contrition and a conviction that it's real, that's cool. And sometimes that starts it lets the other person kind of go, okay, they do care. And then you come back later and add on to it. It's not always right then and there that you sorry and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes, you know what? I'm sorry, I messed up and I want to talk more about it, but I know you're upset right now. So please accept my sincere apology and sorriness. And I want to talk to you more about it later, but I know you need to work through your feelings. Like, that's totally cool too. And look, I've got a lot of practice with this little lady doing that very thing, saying sorry and then coming back later. We had a pretty big blow up about 3 or 4 months ago where you were so pissed at me. And I didn't hear from you. And then finally you called. I didn't answer the phone because I'm like, what do I say? And then finally I called you back about a half an hour later and we had a we had a conversation for about an hour that was really tense, where there was a lot of like, you said this and I felt hurt. Well, you did this and I felt hurt. And we recognized that we both needed to apologize, and we ultimately both did. And once the apology came out after hashing it out, Then the last 30 minutes of our conversation was Jimmy and Brittany time, like it always is, as if nothing had happened. But sometimes you need that initial either talking it out and then the apology, or the apology, back away and come back and revisit it later.
Yeah, I want to bring my dad into this story. I've kind of skirted around it the last few weeks, talking about my dad, him and I kind of getting our relationship back. But it really started with this, apologizing. And we confronted each other, not in a screaming, yelling kind of way, just in, hey, you hurt me. And vice versa. Hey, you hurt me. And so at that point, just like in our conversation, we both had these hurts where we were unwilling to be vulnerable with the other person because we were so hurt that we didn't want to be vulnerable with the person that hurt us. And so at that point, we're just butting heads back and forth because we're the same person. And we had this really tough, tense conversation of let's rehash it all. But we both had to be willing to be there, okay? If I needed to apologize to somebody for something and I hurt them so bad that they're not willing to hear me out, that's okay. I have to say I'm sorry. And if they are willing to listen more, then I open up. They have opened that door. But I'm not going to come at somebody and go, I'm so sorry I did that, la, 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 the whole reason, and explain. But they're not ready to hear that because it doesn't matter what explanation I give, which I would dare to say your explanations really mean very little when you hurt somebody. Like, that's where you get, through it. They have to give permission.
Let me push back on that one just a little bit so we can have a little fun on this podcast. We got plenty of time in today's show. I think the explanation isn't so much, and again, tone is everything. Heart is everything. If you're explaining, you know what, I did it because da 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 da, it's all that person confessing. Here's how I came to the conclusion that I was saying something that I didn't think was hurting you. I am sorry that it hurts you, but here's where I was coming from. And you and I've had these talks about ways that I've said things, and you're like, but I didn't hear it that way. But I'm like, but I said it the way I meant it. And meant it from a genuine heart. And sometimes you kind of go, oh, I didn't even consider that it could be seen that way. So a lot of the conflict, especially your dad and you, and I want to come back to that one in a minute, the conflict is someone else interpreting the words you said through their own prism, through their own life experiences, and they got butt hurt when the person themselves, they didn't mean it in the way you interpreted it at all. And yet that's still something that needs to be apologized. You did teach me that, and I appreciated that. And I'm learning to do that more. Even when I feel like I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong, I always go, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sincerely sorry that hurts you. Now let's talk about it. I think talking it out is kind of the aftermath once the apology is given.
And I wanted to point out the subtle differences in words here, and I hope you guys can pick it up. We've done this enough, but the difference in I'm sorry I hurt you and right. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yes.
They are two totally different statements. I have a really good friend of mine who has a rocky relationship with their parent, and their parent is always saying, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. That doesn't fix anything. That's not an apology. That is put back and saying that I'm not sorry that you misunderstood me. I am not sorry for what I said. I'm only sorry because of your feelings about it. That doesn't work, and that's not an appropriate way to apologize by saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's, I'm sorry I hurt you.
Yeah, it's not an apology at all. I'm sorry that you never ends well.
No.
No. Say, I'm sorry that I said things that hurt you, then you take the onus of it. So put the emphasis on the I, on yourself, because when you're apologizing, it's a very personal, you to them kind of relationship. But I'm sorry that you is like, nope, I'm guiltless. I'm out of here. I'm sorry that you. I watched The Big Bang Theory, and the narcissistic character is Sheldon Cooper. And whenever he was forced to apologize, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way because I was right.
As long as we're apologizing, Sheldon, I'm sorry I used your toothbrush.
And I'm sorry, but that behavior is beyond the pale and cannot be tolerated. We are no longer friends.
Sheldon is such a good example. You got me on the show and I've been watching it, and Sheldon just makes me laugh so much. And then I'm like, how are these people still friends with this person? Like, he is so tough, but at the same time, he inspires me so much to go, oh. And apologizing was one of those when I was watching the episode last night. Yeah, and he had to apologize to Penny for something. And it was, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. No, not quite right there, Sheldon.
Yes, but that goes back to our narcissism episode that we did, and it's gaslighting when you do that. When you like, I'm sorry that you, rather than I'm sorry that I, and there's a humbleness that comes from the I'm sorry that I. There's kind of a haughtiness when it's I'm sorry that you. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Let's get back to your dad for a second, because you didn't give the pretext of what led to those hard conversations and being vulnerable. 6 months in a row, these two MFers would not talk to each other. And I'm sitting here talking this little lady down. I don't understand. Why doesn't he just apologize to me and this would all be over? And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, is there anything you need to apologize about? I didn't have the guts to tell you at the time, but I always thought that. What's that?
I wouldn't have taken that well.
Oh, I know, but I also know the full context. And so in my mind, with my one-sided view of my best friend telling me what's going on, I was totally on your side and he's in the wrong. But I almost was like, you know what? Apologize anyway. There's another episode of Big Bang Theory where Penny upsets Sheldon about something, and then Leonard goes over there. So Sheldon feels really bad about what happened. So if you would just go apologize to him, this will all be over. And she's like, the fuck I will. No, I'm not apologizing to him. I did nothing wrong. And that was you two, you and your dad, for this 6-month kind of detente. You didn't talk to each other. You didn't text. You didn't call. And it took another family member event to get you guys together to and then kind of get it to come out.
Yeah, it's a painful experience, but it came down to a text message over a Facebook post. Guys, this stuff is childish, okay? And I will laugh all day that I participated in this because I feel like I'm so much further along in my personal development, but even Brittany has issues with apologizing, and even I face these things too. I'm still learning these things.
We all do. I mean, this is why we do this show. It's not to say, oh, well, look how good we are at apologizing. No, we still have trouble with this. We still have moments where this will hit you. And it's why we bring these topics up so much, not just to teach you guys some of the things we've learned, but to kind of say, hey, this is stuff you will actively work on. You're not going to get perfect at it unless you're a machine. If you're a robot and go through life kind of doing things methodically, we're going to have emotions. We're going to feel hurt. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. And it's like, what do you do with it when that hits?
And I want to say that perhaps it's because we're both in a receptive place, but my relationship with my dad has like gone light years past where I ever thought it could.
Yeah.
After this 6 months, whatever it was, I think we both felt so shitty for so long that we wanted to fix it, but we're waiting for the other person and waiting. I'm not doing it. She's going to do it. I'm not doing it. He's going to do it. Like, we did this childish shit for so long. And then when we finally sat down and had the tough conversations and the I apologize, I hurt you with my post. And he said, I apologize, I hurt you with my text. Something about that, when we both are vulnerable with each other, we've just been able to move forward so quickly. And anytime anything else teeny tiny comes up, I'm able to say, hey, I don't like that, or that makes me uncomfortable. That's another thing with apologizing. Maybe if we communicated more properly and learned how to communicate, we wouldn't ever get to that place where we need to apologize. Like you and me, we don't fight all the time. Like, I can count on one hand the number of times you and I have gotten in over something, and it was always something that was heard and then misheard. Or written. Something was read and mistake. It was always some misunderstanding, miscommunication. It was always something there.
Which is why when that specific incident a few months ago happened, I was taken aback because it happened very publicly in the comment section, rather than my best friend calling me and saying, "Hey, what's this about? This is how I read it, and it hurts. And did you mean it that way? I don't think you meant it that way." I would have been extremely receptive had it happened that way, but no, it was very public, and lots of people saw it and was like, "Are you and Brittany okay?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I can agree that there have been breakdown points. I don't do things perfectly. I am not perfect here. Um, Amy, my dad's wife, had told me this week, messaged me. She's like, "You really, really need to be a therapist." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know. Like, being a licensed therapist, I feel like I have to have all the answers, and I do not have all the answers."
Hey, look, yes, you're right. And you would have to get a degree to actually do therapy. I've been joking with some of my followers because, in my morning walks, I do a lot of like inspiration and motivation and thing. But you would be good at this too. I've thought about doing kind of the life coach thing. And maybe we do one step deeper life coaching or something. That would be kind of fun if you're interested. Not like you need more things to suck time out of your day, but it's something I've thought about, that if people wanted an extension of what we do here on this podcast, that might be an interesting thing. Let us know, guys. Would you like that? Is that something that if we made it available, would you want that? I've got time that I could allot for that, and I'm sure you could block off time for that. So anyway, just let us know. But yeah, this apologizing thing, it gets sticky when you allow your emotions to overcome you. And that's where I think it gets hard, is people get consumed by the emotion of the moment. If you eject yourself from that moment, that hot spot moment where you get upset, where you feel like you've been violated, all the things that you would need an apology for, and you remove yourself and you look at that relationship with that person separate from that incident, will you feel the same way? And I would argue no. Like, whenever I have feelings that maybe you hurt me or whatever, it's rare. Again, very rare. But I always kind of try to back up and go, well, wait a minute. You've been the one by my side through the hardest times in my life. I've been by your side. Like, this ain't us. So if you remove yourself from the immediacy of what's making you upset and look at the big picture, it helps you get to that apology quicker.
Keto can be hard. Tabulating, measuring, baking, taking 3 months to perfect one recipe, and to mixed reviews.
Did something die in here? Oh, I think it moved.
And by that point, you give up your diet, find a dark corner, and stuff yourself with sugar, carbs, and regret.
This, isn't what it looks like.
Well, this is where Keto Chow saves the day. The easiest, tastiest, ketoist meal replacement on the market.
It's like ice cream melted in my mouth.
Yes, but melted ice cream with all the protein, nutrients, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs.
Oh, that's cool.
And with 3 starter kits, each with restaurant tips, keto food guides, and a ton of flavors to try, your taste buds and your waistline will thank you.
Thank you.
So grab your starter kit today at jimmylovesketochow.com.
It's so easy.
Keto Chow. Make keto easy.
Yeah. And you brought up emotions. And so you can't take emotions out of the feel to need to apologize or the need to have an apology given to you. You can't really take emotions out of that, but you can remove yourself until you can be in a calm state to either receive an apology or give an apology. Because what happens a lot of times, hey, you guys should know by now, anger is not an emotion. It is a reaction. And when you're talking about these really big feelings of hurt and pain, specifically with hurt and pain, most human beings go into anger first, because hurt and pain require vulnerability. And saying that out loud, that you hurt me, requires vulnerability, and anger covers that up. So anger becomes the big bear in front of our emotions, the mama bear in front of the baby bear kind of deal. That's what that is. And with anger comes unstable discernment. And so if you're coming to somebody to apologize to them when they are angry, they're not going to be receptive, because they've got mama bear in front of their emotions, and you're going to have to somehow get through their anger, and it's not going to help. And vice versa. If I'm angry and someone's trying to apologize to me, it doesn't matter how sincere they are. It's a no. It's a no, because I'm still upset and in my emotions. And it's what you and I have experienced this when I have been hurt. you want to apologize right away to fix it, make it better.
Yeah.
But I would say, I'm not ready because I have to calm all of my anger. I have to put the mama bear away and be ready and willing to be vulnerable that I was hurt.
That eats away at somebody like me. I don't know if it's my Enneagram or just personality type, but when I have to wait, when I really am sorry and really do want to show contrition and apologize, I want to do it right away to soothe that. So, but you have, again, taught me lots of things, that sometimes you need that cooling off period. And when we didn't talk for that 24 hours and then suddenly you call me the next day after the thing that happened 3 or 4 months ago, that was the most miserable 24 hours of my life. Like I hurt my best friend. I don't really know exactly what I did to hurt her. I just hurt. And the fact that you were so quiet just kind of indicated that. And then, we got it all done once the anger came off. By the way, we did a whole episode on anger is not an emotion. So I'm going to put it down there for you guys to go check out if you missed that episode. We hit on topics and then we hit them again and again and hit that thing one more time, over and over, because they're recurring themes in all of these things we talk about. And so, yeah, that's definitely one.
Personal development overlaps and it doesn't, it's just how it works. We've talked about keeping your health up, and we've talked about emotions, and we've talked about apologizing and gaslighting and narcissism, and they really all just kind of intertwine with each other, because when you're talking about personally developing and you're talking about working on yourself, there are reoccurring themes that happen. When someone has childhood trauma, it's not far-fetched to think they're going to have some mental health diagnosis or they're going to struggle with mental health. It's not far-fetched. And so when we're talking about, I wanted to specifically had a apologizing 101 to lay this out, because it's in order to have a good relationship with anybody, you have to have the skill of apologizing the correct way. This is a life skill that you can use over and over and over again in all of your relationships, coworkers, spouses, friends, family. It's so important that people learn to apologize. And I think back on a lot of my family breakdowns that, we didn't speak for a long time, or we're still not speaking, or whatever. It really all boils down to an appropriate apology would move the needle just one notch where we could have a relationship.
Yes. So since we're calling this Apologizing 101, let's put on our teacher glasses. Okay, class, we're getting ready to provide some practical tips on how to apologize. And I think a great place to start, you like my little teacher? Yeah. She's like, no, I'm just used to you being silly. So practical way to start is what not to do. And we've already talked about it. I'm sorry that you is a big what not to do. Tone is everything. Well, I'm sorry. Well, people are going to feel that, like viscerally feel that through their body. No. Everything. That's a huge what not to do.
I got one. Because me and Wild Man, we don't fight often. But if he ever utters these words, I lose it. I lose it, because this one sentence is a conversation dead end. When someone says this sentence to me or some form of this sentence to me, I shut down, they shut down, conversation is over. We are getting nowhere. And that is, I'm sorry, I'm such a horrible person. Oh my gosh. And you know, because you have had people in your life who do this shit. I'm so sorry. I'm such a terrible, horrible person, and I can't do anything right. And you just want to be like, yeah, you're right. You're fucking right. You're so right. I'm done with this conversation. I'm out. Because nothing can be said after that. That is a dead end.
It's literally, woe is me. How dare you shine a spotlight on me? I'm not the problem. You're the problem. That's kind of what that is. And it's trying to make you feel bad about trying to have a conversation, and it comes across ish like an apology, but then I'm sorry that I'm such a bad person. If you left off the I'm such a bad person, it would be a start of an apology, but right. Then that hates the I'm sorry.
Oh man. Clearly I get fired up. That's like the one, like that's just, nope, I can't talk to you anymore. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to waste my energy because we're going nowhere. That's
how do you turn that around when somebody plays that little pity party? Because I know Wildman's not the only one that's done that to you. And yes, I've had it done to me a lot. Oh, I'm just such a horrible person.
So if I ever hear that, I set it a quick and hard boundary, very quick. And I always say, and it may sound rude, but this is my boundary. If you're going to continue to use verbiage like that, I will not have this conversation with you. We'll have to pick up on another day when you're ready to have a conversation. I'm not here to belittle you, and I don't want to feel belittled by this conversation. I would like us to move towards an apology. If I'm like seeking an apology from somebody, I'll say that is not an apology, and it makes me feel even worse. And vice versa, if I'm looking to give an apology and like maybe there's been a butting of heads, because I can't really see why somebody would say that if I'm the one giving the apology, but you never know.
Sometimes just to kind of pour on all right, you need to feel sorrow towards me. I'm going to make you feel really bad in the midst of you apologizing. That pisses me off too. If I'm apologizing, at least acknowledge my vulnerability, acknowledge that I'm doing the right thing, because the roles are going to reverse someday. And you don't want me to say, oh, I'm sorry too. I'm such a bad person. I can't believe, no, that doesn't end well.
No. So I set a very quick and hard boundary of, if you would like to continue this conversation, I will not hear you say that again. I would like to have a conversation. I would like to finish. I would like to apologize, or I would like to hear an apology from you. That is not the proper way to apologize. If you need a little coaching on how to properly apologize, go see episode 44.
Yeah, exactly.
Use that one, but no, that is where boundaries come into play. And even what,
like we talked about last week.
Yes, boundaries are so important when that, but that's really the only way. And if they cross over and start it again, end of conversation, done. Yeah.
Speak to the hand.
Yeah, that's the end of the conversation. But that's one that I wanted to point out, that's not an apology.
Yeah, and I think knowing the timing is another critical thing. If you're in the middle of like getting the kids settled, that's not the time to bring something up like that. You need to do that if it's a couple behind closed doors and sincerely, one-to-one, eye-to-eye. Like, I feel like there needs to be this sincerity of, I see you, you see me, and then we recognize kind of where we are, because you can read your husband's face really well, right? And he can read your face really well. You're laughing. Is there a story?
Yes, I would tell him myself. I'm going to tell him myself.
Vulnerable.
Yes. When I'm angry with Wildman about something, or I'm upset, or I'm hurt, I can see the sincerity in his eyes. And so I won't look at him until I'm ready to accept his apology, because literally I just melt just looking at the sincerity in his eyes when he knows that he's hurt me. He doesn't have to say a word. I can see that he's in pain because he hurt me. And so I'm telling myself so bad. It's rare that we get into these things, but when I am, and I'm in the bed, I'm like laying there and I'm mad, I got my eyes closed, and he'll come up to me and he's wanting to talk and apologize, and I'm just like, I'm not opening my eyes. I'm not looking at you. Because I know as soon as I open my eyes, I look at him, it's just gone. All it's just gone. So yes, getting eye to eye with people is so important. But sometimes people are stubborn and know that eye contact is helpful.
And look, you know that about yourself. I would pry at that a little bit and say, why do you do that? Is that because you've been hurt in the past, but now you're out of that hurt? You're in a loving relationship with a man you're head over heels for, very clearly, and he's head over heels about you. And if you can see that sincerity in his eyes, give that boy some credit. Like, he's a keeper.
It's pettiness. That's my own pettiness. That's my own. I need to grow in that area. The same goes with my dad. You know, when we didn't see each other for 6 months during that time, because I knew if I saw him, I could see the sincerity in his eyes. I just have that ability, and it would just be poof, be gone. But I didn't want to be gone. I was hurt. That's my own pettiness. It really is.
Another aspect of this is what's your relationship with the person? Is this just some casual person in your life that's just an acquaintance, maybe a coworker? Like, those are a different dynamic than somebody that you love, somebody that you really care about, spouse, friend, cousin, things like that. And that matters, because if you have love for someone, that means apologizing is all the more important. This is a relationship that you value, that you would go to the death for that person. Like, there's people in my life, you're one of them, that I would go to the death for, because you mean that much to me. And same with you towards Wildman, and Wildman towards you. I mean, there's all of these relationships that we have in our lives that, if they mean that much to you, how hard is it to make yourself contrite enough to say, hey, I screwed up, I upset you, I failed you. Now I sincerely apologize. And on top of the apology, I want to make recompense to you. I want to make promises to you, and be careful about that one, though, because if you promise but then don't fulfill the promise, it makes it worse.
I feel like we talked about this
We talked about that just yesterday or a couple of days ago.
Yes, that's important. Please don't make promises that you cannot keep, especially when it comes to apologizing. So step one for me with apologizing when I know I've hurt someone is like asking them for permission of, I want to apologize to you, and see if they're willing, to see if there's that willingness to hear me out, or to hear the apology, because some people really are so hurt and so far past. I have an old friend of mine right now that we haven't talked in a long time, and I think if they had reached out to me at this point and said they wanted to apologize, I wouldn't be receptive. Like, I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't need the apology, because the relationship is over for me. And so I'm good. Like, I don't need it anymore. And so asking permission is very important, and when you're giving an apology. And then also, if somebody asks you for permission to apologize to you and you're not ready, that's okay. And you can say no. That's a boundary.
Talk about not being ready. What would define not being ready?
So for me, I have a tendency to react in anger, which is why I say anger is not emotion. Yes, it's not emotion, it's a reaction, because I know, because I've dealt with it so much. Anger is my mama bear. And so I know that I'm not ready for an apology when there's mama bear. Mama bear is still out, and I won't be able to hear it. And so for me, it's almost a waste of time when I'm still all the way up here. Even an apology is not going to bring me back down. So I personally have to bring myself back down before anybody can apologize to me. That, I think it's person to person. Sometimes it can be pettiness. Hello, I've been there recently. It can be just pure pettiness. But most of the time it's because there's so much hurt. I have to sort through that before I can allow anybody in to apologize. And I don't know, like, if there's a specific secret sauce out there to be willing to hear somebody out. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and it's an individual basis. If I have someone in my life that's like me, they're going to want to talk right away. And that's the perfect timing. But then, because of my experience with you, I know, okay, there's sometimes going to be gaps in that, and I have to deal with holding on to, I really want to apologize, or really, like, I thought I lost you as a friend that day, that one day that we didn't talk because you were so mad. And I did. I'm like, okay, well, this was fun. I guess we'll end the One Step Deeper podcast. This was a great ride for 20 something episodes or whatever it was at the time. And I did. I thought I lost you as a friend that day. I didn't lose you. I just needed to let you calm down and get to the point where you were ready. I was ready right away, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is not norm for us.
Right.
And we talk out everything, even in the midst of just having chats. And we've talked about some controversial things just in normal chats, and we take different sides of things. And I'm like, all right, do I really say how I feel, or do I hold back because I don't want to make her? And so I've never felt that way around you, by the way. I always say what I got to say. And then if you take it wrong, I'm like, okay, well, let's have the talk. And anyway, but I did. I thought I lost you that day. And then it just turned out it just needed more time. So
There's very little that I will start in the relationship over. Racism, people being straight out ugly or misogynist. Like, there are some things. I have literally kicked somebody out of my yard, leave my yard, for a racist comment, and they have never been back. I've never seen them. We've never communicated. We deleted text. Gone. Like, I will end it. Okay. Like, there's very little, but I have some very strong lines. But most of the time, I'm willing to work things out once I calm down. But you brought something up that I wanted to touch on, and that is when not to apologize. Sometimes people throw I'm sorry and sorry and sorry out so much that it means nothing.
yeah,
Like when they say, I just don't want to talk about that, I'm sorry. No. Saying I don't want to talk about that is a boundary, and it doesn't require an apology for setting a boundary. You don't have to apologize when someone crosses your line and you said it and say, I don't want to talk about this subject. I've had to do this very often with political conversations that get to a point, and I have to say, I'm no longer willing to have this conversation. Can we change the subject? If they're not willing, then we hang up. Like, that's how it goes. And I'm not going to apologize, because I know that if it doesn't stop here, it's going to get elevated. It's going to get angry. We're going to have these big, long conversations that I'm not willing to go down. So boundary, no apologies needed. Also, you do not have to apologize for your opinion. You do not have to give your opinion and apologize for it, even if you're wrong, or even if you know somebody else is wrong. Whatever, you do not have to apologize. This is your opinion. It perhaps it's based on fact, perhaps it's not. It's your opinion. You can have the opinion that the sky is red. I'm not going to argue you. It's okay, cool.
that's where you say sorry, not sorry.
Exactly. There's no apology necessary there. You don't have to apologize for having different opinions. Yeah. Jimmy and I love our dynamic because we have very different views on a lot of different subjects. Now, some we agree very much on, but there's a lot of things that we don't agree on. You share your opinion, I share my opinion, and that's it.
We have a huge age gap, 21 years. Like, if we didn't have different views of life, there would be something weird about you and about me. If we believed the same, you as a almost Gen Z, or you're a millennial, but a very young millennial, and I'm a Gen Xer, and it's like, we're not supposed to get along, but we do. And we've talked about this because we respect each other and have grown to like each other, and we do bond over the things we are interested in and agree with. But then we kind of learn from one another about the things we don't agree with. And so, yeah, it's cool.
We don't apologize for how we were brought up and what our mindset said. We don't apologize for our boundaries or our opinions, but we bring them to each other and respect each other's boundaries and opinions of, yeah, sure, Jimmy, I understand that's your opinion. I have a different opinion. Cool. I respect you. You respect me. New subject. And I know we kind of touched on that. It's a hard concept for people, but it's not that difficult.
And no need to apologize. Like, it's not the end of the world if you think differently than me and vice versa. That's what's upsetting about what's happening in the culture right now. If you disagree with like what the mainstream kind of thoughts are, you're suddenly the enemy, and you're the weirdo. And it's like, no, I just have a different point of view than you. Like, that doesn't make me bad, good or bad. It just makes me, I have a different opinion.
Yeah, I'm very much about accountability, and even talking about that within apologizing, it applies. I'm about accountability culture and holding people accountable when they make a mistake and requiring that they apologize and learn from their mistakes. But I'm not really a fan of, you said something different than I believe in, you're canceled. So accountability culture versus cancel culture is kind of where I live my mindset. I am all about when somebody makes a mistake, firing and holding them accountable. You made a mistake and you need to make up for that, or then you're canceled, Boundaries.
So you guys know I've been doing 75 hard, right? One of the requirements for this is drink a gallon of water per day. I still find myself needing a little extra boost and a little bit more electrolytes to fuel all of these workouts I've been doing. And that's why I'm super excited to be partnered with Element right now on the One Step Deeper podcast, because I am needing all the electrolytes and they are providing life for me right now. They sent me this amazing package, guys. Look. What? We got watermelon, we got orange, we got raspberry, and my personal favorite is citrus, because listen, it reminds me of margarita, and during 75 hard, you can't have those, so I'm telling you, this stuff is giving me life. So if you're interested in trying them for yourself and getting some great electrolytes, you can go to drinklmnt.com/Jimmy, and there you can get a free sample. All you have to do is pay the shipping. Hope you enjoy. Remember, just as Element says, stay salty.
There's been two prominent things out in our culture lately. Dave Chappelle and his latest special and things that he said in there. But if you saw the totality of everything, you don't know Dave Chappelle?
Oh, no, I know who he is. I haven't seen anything recently.
It's got a new Netflix special for all you people that have Netflix. And in the middle of it, he said something. He's a comedian. He's trying to be, try to get you to think, and he'll say things that are off the wall. George Carlin did it. Richard Pryor did it. They all did it. Robin Williams, all of them did it back in the day. And so he kind of pushes the envelope here. And then if you watch it to the end, he kind of explains why he did that. And that it was about the gay community, and he said some things that upset them. But at the end, he talked about a gay friend that ended up killing themselves, and how he was just trying to point the light on it. Anyway, he said, and my gay friend would have loved my joke. And they all laughed in the audience and everything. Anyway, it's interesting. But he's in a lot of trouble. They're wanting to cancel Dave Chappelle. Now, he's got money, FU money, he doesn't care now. But that was one. And then there one in the sports world. John Gruden is the coach, or was the coach, of the Las Vegas Raiders. They found some email he sent like 10 years ago that had some disparaging things in there, or at least perceived to be disparaging. And so now he's no longer the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And so accountability culture got him. It remains to be seen what happens to Dave Chappelle, but I think he's untouchable. Dave Chappelle. But those are two prominent examples in the culture lately of apologies matter. And if you don't do it the right way, you will be canceled. But in Gruden's case, the coach, he apologized. He's like, whoa. I didn't mean the comments to be interpreted the way the media is presenting it. He's like, here's what I meant. He did say, I'm sorry that y'all feel that way. So that was his mistake. Yeah. And Dave is like, F you. I said what I meant and meant what I said. And he's not offering any apology.
I can't comment because I don't know either one of the situations, but I do know very prominent person within personal development was under some hot fire this year. Yeah. I won't bring any names, but you know who I'm talking about. Under some really hot fire for some comments that they made. And honestly, I'm not sad about the reaction of what happened, because their apology was not sincere, and if anything, made the situation worse. And so I'm glad. I wasn't even anticipating I'll talk about apologizing in culture, but it's so important for these people who are, their opinions matter more. I hate saying that. It's just that their opinions are broadcasted. And so it's important, and they influence people. So even being online is very important in how you articulate what words you use in your opinion. It's important, because you can't, and it's not even about offending people. Okay. Being offended is a choice. Sue me. It is. Being offended is a choice. Being hurt is different, and it's different. But within culture, it's so important to get this right, to apologize when it's necessary. Sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes it is your opinion, and someone's sharing an opinion and people are tearing them apart for it. Sometimes when people share an opinion that is so far different than mine that I just will not agree with, all it does for me is show me the kind of person that they are, and show me that I don't want to be around that kind of person. And so I choose not to get offended over it. I just choose to go, wow, that's not the kind of person I want in my life. And I move on about my life. And that's all I have to say about it.
Look, I ran into this earlier this year with Clubhouse. There was somebody that found something I wrote on a Facebook comment last year. One little comment out of like thousands of comments I posted. They found one comment and then they made a big deal about it. And I was labeled things by people and I needed to apologize. And I did. I even did one better than apologize. I let the people that were upset at me talk directly to me on Clubhouse. I've taped it. It's still on YouTube. You want to go watch it. But like I sincerely wanted to show contrition and do more than just say, I'm sorry that I didn't want that. I did want to say, hey, look, I had an opinion. I see that you guys didn't agree with that. I'm sorry it hurts you. I did not mean to hurt anyone with that. And then I said, okay, I want to hear from you. And so I don't know many public figures that subject themselves to, I think it was almost 3 hours of just most of the people berating me. Even with the apology, it wasn't enough. And to this day, I don't really hang out on Clubhouse anymore because of that incident. And, you know, that's my penance for that apology that didn't, I guess, ultimately get received.
Yeah. And ultimately those people were very hurt, and I was there for that, and I had my own opinions, and I shared my very tough, hard opinions with you about that comment, and I was going to hold you accountable, but there's a difference in holding somebody accountable and accepting an apology.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, I chose not to accept people's apology. Not even because I wasn't ready, or it was really just about me, and it hurt me more than it hurt anybody else. And, you know, we don't need to get down that rabbit hole, but I thought that it was a very big deal for you to recognize, and the apologizing, that was one of the best ways to go about it. Understanding that you said things that hurt people. You apologized for that. And not only did you apologize, you gave them every opportunity to tell you the exact ways that comment hurt them.
Yes.
And yeah, I was there. I listened to most of that. And most of the, what is it even called? It wouldn't be an interview, would it?
Well, I was on Clubhouse and I opened up a room and I had people come up on stage to talk. So
the chat. Yeah, I was there for most of that. And so
yeah.
it was really tough.
And you told me after it was over that you had already talked to Wildman about breaking off our friendship over this. And so you said that saved you.
Yeah.
I was glad when you said that. I did. I hung up and I broke down and cried. Because I didn't imagine that it had gotten to that level. So thank you for that, by the way, because that really revived me. There will be no One Step Deeper podcast had she not forgiven me.
Well, it was one of my hard lines.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm glad that how that went about, and going back to just, you know, understanding how to apologize, asking for permission. And it's kind of hard to ask for permission when you hurt multiples of people, but you offered that apology and offered that, and then you acknowledge that you hurt them. That's kind of step 2, to acknowledge that you hurt somebody. And you also, for people, when you do apologize, if you're not willing to let your apology be your promise to not do it again to the best of your ability, don't bother apologizing. If you acknowledge that you did something wrong, you've asked for permission, you've acknowledged, and then you say, I'm sorry, you have to understand with that sorry comes a promise to not do it again. Yeah. And you can say, I promise not to do it again. I would rather someone just offer me, I'm sorry, and let the sorry speak for itself. And then number 4, we've talked about this, be understanding that people might not be willing to, I don't even want to say forgive. Accept. Might not be willing to accept and move through the relationship.
Oh, most of those people in Clubhouse I've never heard from again.
Yeah, I think about my mom's ex-husband. If he was ever the one who abused me, if he ever offered me apology, or wanted to give me apology, I wouldn't bother to hear him out, if I'm being completely honest, because I don't need an apology from him, and it would mean nothing to me. It would mean nothing to me for him to apologize, because in my head, you're only saying sorry because you feel bad. I felt bad for years, and I'm past feeling bad, and I don't want to feel bad again. I don't want to see you. I don't want to have a relationship with you. Your apology would do nothing but make you feel better, and I have no desire to hear it. And sometimes that is okay. You don't have to hear out your abuser who wants to tell you sorry. You don't have to.
And that goes back to what we talked about earlier. You apologize to those people that mean something to you. This guy, nothing to you. He's a relic from your past you're trying to forget about and trying to move on from, and have moved on from, quite frankly. You don't think of the guy in the day to day. And if on his deathbed he wants to make this grand apology, you owe him nothing. Like, you're living your life now, and you're free from him. I do want to say one more thing before we get out of here. My mama, good old mama, a sweet 73-year-old woman, she has a bad habit of saying, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." She's just constantly crying with "I'm sorry," because she was in a relationship with a husband that made her apologize for everything. If something went wrong, "I'm sorry. You didn't turn off the TV. I'm sorry. Go get my car. Oh, I'm sorry." And it became just this throwaway line. And I remember I called her out on it. I went to visit her at Christmas last year, and I was saying something. "I'm sorry." I said, "Why do you keep saying you're sorry?" "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm sorry. Something, I'm sorry, I say." And I'm like, you need to, "I'm sorry, stop," because "I'm sorry," that don't cut it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it becomes nothing. These people that throw sorry around for everything, it becomes nothing, because it's just like when someone, How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
Ted, he's an "I love you" whore, or step. Excuse me. It's not. Yes, it's Ted, but it's also Marshall. When Marshall gives his stamp of approval for everything. If you're saying sorry over and over and over again, your stamp means nothing. It means so little. So yes, you have to be careful. Just as you're careful with giving out "I love yous" and giving out these, like, you have to be careful with your sorries, and they become more sincere when you offer them up, when you're sincere and not just throwing it away.
That's right. So guys, episode 44 was packed. Apologizing 101, and why just saying sorry doesn't quite cut it. Good information today. And yeah, I threw you off at the beginning. She's like, "Something's wrong. The vibe is off." I'm like, damn it, I can't get nothing by this girl.
Oh, I can read it. I can read the vibe real quick. Like,
You read it really well, and I was just trying to like role play, and you're like, "No, I'm not having it." See, that's authentic friendship there. We know each other very well. Close the show.
oh goodness, OneStepDeeperPodcast.com, guys. You see all the past episodes there. Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. That's where the episodes premiere for the first time. They also go up on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're looking for the show in all of those places, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, just type in One Step Deeper and you'll find the show there. On Mondays, we are a typical podcast. You can find us in all those places that you listen to. Podcast, my personal favorite, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Alexa. You can find us there. Anywhere you listen to us or watch us, leave us a review, leave us some comments. We love hearing from you guys. Our personal personal Instagram. I don't really answer anybody on Facebook. I keep that super personal for me. But my Instagram is open wide up for anybody who ever wants to DM me. And same goes, Jimmy, if you ever have any questions about the shows or comments about the shows, Jimmy is at Living Low Carb Man on Instagram. And I'm becoming Brittany Lee over on Instagram.
Yes, yes. And we have just a few more episodes left. We're well into October now, and at the end of November is when we go away for 2021, come back strong in the new year. So enjoy these last few episodes over the next few weeks. And yeah, great show today, my dear. And we'll see you guys again next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.